All right, hello Lancers. It's time for our 5-question Friday. As a reminder to you as students that someday you will be an adult with adult things to do and choices to make with your life. All right, so today's guest is a guy named Seth Hamilton, and Seth graduated from Belleville East in 2005. Seth, will you tell us a little bit about what you're doing today?
Sure. So I live here in East St. Louis. I run an organization called Go International. We work to create self-sustainability projects in impoverished communities, like here in East St. Louis. So we run a foreign language school where we've got people learning one of 6 languages, specifically for kids and youth here in East St. Louis. We have entrepreneurship classes, financial literacy, martial arts classes. We have a school in Nicaragua as well, and a number of other community partners all around the world that kind of operate as a network to help each other.
Okay, so it's called Go International, and it's you teach people here in East St. Louis different languages. Do they have to be kids? Can they be adults? Can it be?
We work primarily with youth.
Okay.
But we are in the middle of running hybridized classes, so if anybody wants to enter into Spanish, French, Portuguese, Mandarin class, we do paid classes as well. You would be integrated in with the students that we have, learning with them, and then the money in turn goes towards actually helping towards the programs with the kids.
Okay, great. So I'm not sure how this is recorded, so we might have to talk a little louder. So.
Sure.
Okay, so how did you get to this point? I know that I've been lucky enough to have you come to my class.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your time in West Africa?
Sure. We've done a number of projects primarily through the Lionheart Initiative, which works actually for combat sports. They promote combat sports throughout the region, setting up promotions and helping to grow the sport because it's actually bringing an industry into each country. So you're training athletes, or you're putting events together that promote schools there, that help build businesses that are involved with it.
So hold on, combat sports. So you're talking like MMA?
Yes, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, things like that.
And you also train kids in MMA?
Specifically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We do that just because for grappling, it's a responsible way for them to defend themselves and it's more practical. If I'm trying to teach a small person to punch somebody, they can break their hands, they might not hurt the other person, and if somebody does hit them hard enough, you might cause permanent damage to that person. So through grappling, it allows them to kind of pin somebody down while they're waiting for a teacher or somebody to come and help address the situation.
Okay, so I remember this is great. When you were in West Africa, there was some kind of wrestling thing that had a big crowd. And
Lam wrestling. And we also did the very first MMA event in the history of Senegal with our kids from East St. Louis and then one of our partners internationally from Costa Rica. Lam wrestling is a traditional West African martial art. It's the national sport in Senegal, as opposed to soccer, which is shocking, but there are giant stadiums of people. It's like bare knuckle boxing mixed with wrestling, like college or Olympic wrestling. So there are takedowns and you can punch somebody with your bare hands. And the people are absolutely huge. Like the athletes are somewhere between 200 and 300 pounds often, and just pure muscle.
And you participated in this? So.
Yes, we trained it. We did more of the wrestling aspects of it, especially since we had a couple of youth from here in East St. Louis, didn't want them getting hurt. And then we put on a show that was a mixture of grappling, Lam wrestling, and then MMA. I headlined it having to fight a guy from France.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of fun. There was a stadium of people. It was put onto national Senegalese TV. And since then, it has spawned an MMA promoter. So somebody has taken it up, a Senegalese man, is now running promotions regularly, paying fighters, and helping to grow gyms and academies there. So you've got a number of businesses and jobs that have been created as a result.
That's fantastic. So Go International, I don't think you had Go International at the time, but That's the spirit of it, right? Is you take kids from here to places around the world. Is that right?
Absolutely, and we, again, it's about building a network within these communities, teaching marketable skills through which they can make a better living for themselves, or where they can bring resources into the community to help build it up, and engendering local leadership more than anything. You know, we want them to realize that they have the power not only to change themselves, their community, but also the world.
Awesome. So you're starting small here, but expanding out, and that's what Go International is all about.
Exactly. So we want I'm in the middle of training my leaders up right now. So my leaders are also high school students like these, you know, like the kids that are going to be watching this.
Yeah.
You know, I have two girls that are right now getting ready to study abroad. They're going to be the first students out of East St. Louis in the 70-year history of this foreign exchange program to ever study for a full semester abroad. And so they're going to be going to Colombia for 6 months next year and going to school out there. When they come back, they're going to be the ones that are going to be teaching the Spanish classes. And then I'll be training them to help run the language school itself. So they're the ones who are going to be running it. If down the line they decide that they want to go do some work abroad in a Latin American country and to run some programs out there, they'd be more than able to do that. So we want to facilitate those opportunities.
Wow. So you saw a need for some help, and you've dedicated yourself to helping people that need that.
Absolutely. We want to create opportunities where often there aren't any.
That is fantastic. Okay, so let's get to the 5 questions.
Sure.
Okay, first question is, what's your favorite memory about Belleville East?
Oh, geez. Honestly, the morning time, hanging out in front of a building. At least back then, I assumed that it has to be somewhat similar.
Yes,
where
it is.
Before the first hour class began, everybody kind of had their own little circles and just going and hanging out with my friends.
So it's different now because we've redone it all, so they don't have the huge puddles when it rains anymore. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's terrible.
Yeah,
that was terrible. That might have happened right when you were there or close to it.
No, it would happen periodically, especially towards the end of the year when you start getting like May.
Yeah.
You know.
That was terrible. The kids would show up and their pants would be soaking wet. It'd be terrible. Okay, next question.
Sure.
What's been the main component for your success? Like, what is it that keeps driving you forward?
It's in my hallway. There's a little map of the world, and I've got some quotes and things on it. But to be honest, I look at that map and I have marks for each country where I have people that I know, and it's the people that I have seen and met before I started, and then as I've come along. I don't know. Let me see if I can put it this way. So, whenever I was about 13 years old, which I was in your class at that time.
Yeah.
Because that was back whenever we were at Wolf Branch. And I went to a retirement home, and an elderly man came out and he said, I have something for anybody who wants to listen. And so I paid attention. And this guy said, when you're born, God puts a heart in your chest, right? And as you go on in life, every time that you run across somebody, you take a piece of their heart and they take a piece of yours. Some people will take more from you, and you'll try and fill it with other pieces from other people. But regardless of whether it's a passing glance between two strangers, or whether it's a friendship that lasts a lifetime, you're constantly in the middle of this exchange. By the time that you go, or by the time you're ready to die, the heart that is being judged is no longer, is not the one that you have, because that's only an amalgam of all the pieces you've collected, but rather it's the pieces that you've shared with other people. So in a way to honor the people who have given me good pieces of their heart that have helped to build me into who I am today, and to look forward to the people with whom I am sharing my heart on a day-to-day basis. Here in East St. Louis, in conversations with my kids in Nicaragua, I've taught a Zoom class of jiu-jitsu to someone in Tanzania. You know, like there's as I interact with these people all around the world, that's what it's about. It's about giving the best of myself and honoring the people who gave me the best of themselves.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. So the next question isn't nearly as deep or philosophical, and that question is Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram?
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yes.
All right, so that's been a running theme. You're the third one in a row that's had that one. Okay, so who is a celebrity crush for you, or somebody in the media somewhere that you look up to? You're like, oh, they're amazing.
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
It's not a crush, but it's I enjoy.
It's a man crush. It's all right.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
But I admire his way of building bridges between different cultures. I remember while I was in high school, I was working at a restaurant locally, and one of the things that I always thought was funny, because this area, especially then and even now, there's still issues where you have it being very segregated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I remember his jokes, like there always being something for everybody, whether they were black or white, and everybody was coming together and telling them to one another. And just his ability to subtly layer a lot of philosophy and insight and social insight into his joke telling.
Fantastic. Okay. Last question. Is somebody outside of your family that has been the most influential person in your life?
This guy named Bill Belts. He ran the Nice Foundation, and so whenever I was in Nicaragua, I was working through them, and he's this big, loud, Santa Claus-looking guy from Arkansas. He grew up in the town where Walmart started.
Okay.
And the very first time I ever went down to Nicaragua was with him, and everything was, as you know, I from whenever I was a child was disorganized.
I remember.
He likewise was, but just his loving attitude that he had and his willingness to go anywhere. The guy, in the middle of working down there, had a heart attack, stayed, and then continued working after recovery, and was sad because he didn't die down there.
Wow.
Like he wanted to. It's just his desire to keep going, even into old age. You know, he literally, until his last breath, was dedicated to continuing to help people.
Wow. His name was Bill
Belts.
Bill Belts. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, so that's our 5-question Friday. We'll finish a couple things. So number one, what advice would you give to high school kids today? Mm-hmm. Like, what's something that you remember going forward?
The most important thing is, frankly, discipline. Whatever it is that you choose, a lot of people focus on being passionate and how they feel about things, but as life happens to you, it's not about how you feel about it, but rather just continuing to do the work. I mean, you resolve your feelings and such, but don't worry and get discouraged whenever life gets in the way. Just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll succeed. There's an expression in Spanish: "No existen tiempos malos, solo difíciles." There's no such thing as a bad day, just a difficult one.
No such thing as a bad day, just a difficult one.
Right, and you're tougher than a bad day or a difficult day.
That's fantastic. Okay, and then the last thing is every Friday, which is kind of where this stemmed from, I always would say to my students after some kind of talk, I would say, stand up for what you believe in, and they would finish with, even if you're standing alone.